This is something I'm going to try to do every day, is to have a very quick review about what we have seen on the day before. And then after we finish this review very quick, then we go to the the new the thing that we're going to see on the day. And yesterday, if you remember, we have seen about finding the domain of a function, how to find the domain of a function, where we have two different situations that you have to actually analyze. You have to analyze if the function is a fraction, like this one, and the fraction, the denominator cannot be a 0. We cannot allow to have a denominator equals to 0. So the denominator needs to be different from 0. This is one situation. And I have another situation right here, where the function is equal to a square root of an expression, and we cannot allow the expression to be negative. We cannot allow the expression to be negative, or we will have we're not going to have a solution as a real number. So this needs to be greater or equal than 0. You probably remember then real quick how we solve each one. This first situation here, we write down x minus 9 different from 0. That means x different from 9. We will exclude, we're going to remove number 9 from the domain. And the way we will do that is by writing the domain and removing number 9. This is the template that you're going to use. Negative infinity, comma, this is blank, where I'm going to fill the number that you want to exclude, that you want to avoid, and union, blank, comma, infinity. Excuse me. And here you fill out with the number that you want to remove. In this case here, in this situation, you want to remove number 9 from the domain. And that's the answer. The new domain, the domain of this function, is represented using interval notation, is this answer here, right? The next question, the next type of question, we have a square root of an expression that needs to be greater or equal than 0, cannot be negative, or we're not going to have solution for this. That means x minus 2 greater or equal than 0, x greater or equal than 2. Then the templates, you're going to write down the domain, and you will actually limit the domain to every number that's greater or equal than 2. The template is this: bracket, blank, comma, infinity, parentheses. And here inside on the blank space, you're going to write the number that you want to avoid. You not want to avoid in this situation. Is the beginning, the starting point of the domain. It starts on 2, inclusive, and go all the way to infinity. No problem, Julian. Good morning. So this is a review from yesterday. This is interesting to have in your records. You can take a picture, you can keep this. This is kind of the step-by-step to solve each one of these kind of questions, to write the domain of a function using interval notation. Moving now to the topic. Any questions about it? We're going to work a few more exercises like that on the quiz today. But now we are going to the new topic, the new subject of today's class. We are moving from section 2.6 to section 2.7. Section 2.7, graphs of functions. And actually we will see some very familiar functions here. It's the linear function and the constant function. And maybe you're going to remember this from a couple of weeks ago. Let me read the definition, and maybe this will bring you some memories from a couple of weeks ago that we worked something similar to this. Definition: linear function and constant functions. A function that can be written in the form fx equals mx plus b is a linear function. Let me just move a little bit up here and check if you remember, if you have this in your memory. Fx equals mx plus b. Does this bring any memories to you? And this is the slope. This is the y-intercept. This is the slope-intercept form. This is the slope-intercept form, remember? Now reading the next definition. A function that can be written in the form fx equals b is a constant function. So fx equals b is a constant function. And b is a number. If you check it out, this is kind of a special situation of the linear function where the slope equals 0. If the slope equals 0, you're going to have a constant function, fx equals b. Okay, that's it. That's it for the topic of today's class. We're going to start very slowly. Just we will be able to identify now linear function and constant function and connect with the memories that you have about things that we have worked with linear equations. Is the slope-intercept form. Check it out. I want your answer now. I want your help now. Let me know here which one from these two options on the bottom, these two options here, which one do you think is the constant function? Option A or option B? Which one do you think is the constant function? Tell me on the chat box. Type here. If you think it's A, type letter A. If you think it's B, type letter B. Which one is the constant function? And you will type letter A, Jacob letter B. Any more answers? Cynthia thinks it's B, Kalia thinks it's B. The constant function is B or is A? Adrian thinks B. More opinions, more. Joniel thinks it's A. So it's between A and B. We have more votes for B. Maddie thinks it's B. Jesus thinks it's B. Okay. Actually, the constant function is A. This is the constant function. But you're not wrong, you're not completely wrong, because the constant function can be a special case of B when you have the slope equals to 0. Both functions are linear functions actually, because both functions are represented by a line, by a straight line. But the constant function, when you talk, this is a constant function, that means it is equal to a constant, it is equal to a number, always going to be a horizontal line. Okay, so when you talk about constant function, it's a special case of linear functions where the function is equal to a number and is represented by a horizontal line. Great! Let's move then, and this is the last thing I want to talk about in the PowerPoint. Now we can move to the quiz. I think it's interesting. It's good to have time to work on the quiz, right? And we're going to have plenty of time to work on the quiz. But before, let's check our bell work. Yes, before, let's check the bell work. And the bell works here. If you are 8 feet away from the door, and with each move you advance half the distance to the door, how many moves will it take to reach the door? The options are 16, 24, 48, and 96, or none of the above. What do you think is the right answer? Record here. The right answer here, as we have seen, is none of the above, because you're always going to have half and half and half of the way to catch up to reach the door. as usual, the first part is going to be the questions about the review. This is the review questions. And we have something new here. A, B, C, D, E are pretty similar from yesterday. We have E and F that are new because it's a combination. Now we have a fraction and a square root. That means this value here needs to be positive and cannot be equals to 0. It needs to be different from 0. This needs to be positive and not equals to 0. So x plus 2 greater than 0, x greater than negative 2. And then you find the domain. Okay? For the second part of the quiz, second part, you have a few graphs and you need to link, you need to type the right number according to the equation. So let's check the first one. And we have the first equation, fx equals x plus 4. And you need to find the right graph, okay? I suggest you, and let me show here on your quiz, I suggest you to use this link. Check it out. This is Khan Academy, and click on it. It's a pretty interesting tool. This is going to open that graph form, graph from slope-intercept form. Let's go. And instead of solving this, don't solve this by excuse me. Don't solve this by now. Let's solve our graph, our equation. F of x equals x plus 4. The y-intercept is equals to 4, and the slope is equals to 1. 1 is 1 over 1 equals rise over 1. Okay? Get this point, the first point, move to the y-intercept. The y-intercept is going to be 4. So here, 4. And the other point, run 1 and rise 1. 1 and 1. And this is going to be the answer. This is the line that we're looking for. Compare with the graphs that you have available here. Compare with the graphs that we have as options. And you're going to check out, write this one, number 3. The answer is going to be number 3. But be careful, because there are some graphs that the y-intercept is the same, but the slope is not the same. So if you find something like that, instead of the number, you type 0. That means there are no answer, no graph. Okay? I'm just making this to make it a little bit more difficult. It will be too easy, because you can see the y-intercept and you can find the graph. They have the right y-intercept. But I actually want you to check both. I want you to check both the y-intercept and the slope. Okay? Questions? Let's move to the quiz. Let's work on the quiz. Let's work on the quiz. Okay, let's work on the quiz. If you need any help, let me know. And if you want to share your answers in the chat box, feel free to share.